Good Saturday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gillaway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio. And this is our High School Hoops weekly recap show. I'll be joined momentarily by our panel of experts, along with our special opening guest, as soon as we're done thanking those responsible for bringing you tonight's show, our Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors. And they are Rickabaz Electric, Payor Apparel, American Legion Post 272, Sam Hartley Decking, Modern Imprint, Hoffman Ford, Ted's Bar and Grill, The Tire Mart, Freedom Financial Wealth Management, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Tonino's Pizza, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Underdog Sports Bar and Grill, and Crystal Bob at Howard Hanna Real Estate. Thanks once again to all those great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area student athletes. Okay, so upcoming, we have a bunch of upcoming. We scheduled out about 3 or 4 weeks with a bunch of, phenomenal student athletes here, and we're about a third of the way through. Here's what we have coming up in the next week or so. We have girls basketball. I'm going to guarantee you right now, these are 4 all-state girls basketball players. This is tomorrow night at 7. We bumped our weekly our high school hoops show back to tonight to make room for these girls. Jayla Kozier from Middletown, Kyla Correa from Lebanon, Amaya Stewart from Wyomissing, and Peyton Dincher from Jersey Shore will be joining us tomorrow night on Gazette Sports Chat. Then this coming Wednesday at 7 o'clock, that's the 29th of January, boys basketball. On the boys' side, we have Alfonso Burnett from Susquehanna Township, recently scored his 1,000th point. We have Aiden Sally from Big Spring, Cam Sweeney on a really quality Hershey team, one of the leaders on that team. And then Parker Smith from Carlisle. I've seen him play a couple times this year and last year, and my gosh, is he ever good. And we're going to hear a little bit more about him tonight. I won't tell you why yet, but we will. And then how about girls wrestling? We have one scheduled, a show for Thursday the 6th. Eva Cruz Germain from Central Dauphin East, Alicia Hidalgo from Camp Hill, Callie Bauer from Mechanicsburg, and Kylie Trossel from Elko. Besides that, we don't have dates set yet. I have another boys basketball show, and I have the players, but I'm not gonna reveal them yet until we have the show scheduled, and then another girls basketball show. So thanks for sticking with me through all that. And all I'm going to tell you is these shows are really, really good. We catch these student athletes in like candid moments where, we get a chance to learn a little bit about them, in their sport and outside of their sport. We just did Altoona girls basketball, and it was one of the more pleasurable things I've done in 8 years of working for Lingelstown Gazette Sports. So anyway, tonight's opening guest is in his 14th season at the helm of a Carlisle boys basketball program that has had its share of great players, great teams, and great memories. One of those great players who left his mark in the Thundering Herd record book was our guest, Andre Anderson. Coach Anderson scored 1,400-plus points in a Carlisle uniform, went on to play Division I college basketball, where his 2002-2003 University of Vermont team became the first in school history to play in the NCAA March Madness tournament, and then returned to Carlisle to lead the community's young men on the basketball court and off as a coach in his alma mater's boys basketball program, first under Coach Joe's decision and eventually taking the reins on his own. It's our pleasure to welcome Carlisle boys head basketball coach Andre Anderson. Coach, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, man.
Our pleasure. Did I get all that right?
You got it all right.
Okay, because sometimes I use Google for this stuff if I don't know it already, and you never know if that stuff's right or not. So great resume, and from everything I hear, you're an awesome guy too, and you're the kind of person we want on this show, that's for sure. So thanks for joining us. I'm just going to ask a question or two and then turn it over to these guys. What is a catamount? You went to the University of Vermont. They are the Catamounts. What is a catamount?
Man, the only thing I can describe that as is a mountain lion, and I don't think I figured that out until my senior year in college.
Okay, so it's not bad that we don't know, right?
I think it's a smaller mountain lion or whatnot. Okay. But luckily I didn't see any of those up there. So
right, Okay, and I'm going to turn it over to Dave after I ask you this one more question. Any memories of that mid to late '80s Carlisle boys basketball team, who I think it was the greatest run because it was a public school. They were all homegrown kids. I think it's the greatest run in Pennsylvania boys basketball history. I know that you were a young kid when all that started, a little bit older when it ended in '88. Do you have any recall of those teams?
I mean, big time, man. I know all those guys to this day. My parents were big fans back in the day. They would take me to the games, and this place was crazy. You know what I mean? I was young. I was 6, 7, 8 years old or whatever it may be, but everybody remembers that stuff, man. They were selling merchandise and, down at the mall, the Carlisle Mall, just off of, what those guys were doing, and a special group of players, special group of coaches, and what a wonderful run, man.
Right here, I got a pennant. That's an original pennant.
That's great.
It has the first 3 on. It was before. This was 85, 86, and 87, and I bought it off of eBay like years ago. It's in perfect condition, and it's one of my proudest pieces of memorabilia here.
Nah, that's great, man. Yeah, that stuff goes for some money, man. There's shirts, and a lot of people are bringing those shirts back with the 4 trophies on them and everything like that. Matter of fact, I just had a guy come up and asked if I could try to get some guy. That's probably the one. No, not that one, but he had asked if I could try to get some of that stuff signed from the guys. And,
you'd be the guy to do that, right?
I can try, man. I can try.
So let's bring in the voice of Delco, Dave Berman. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Coach. I want to get Dave in here because he was around for those teams. He was a radio broadcaster. Play-by-play, Dave, color commentator.
Worked at York, Carlisle, Harrisburg, WHP for a year, Mifflin County, my beloved Mifflin County for 13 years. Now,
so we're not here to talk about those teams from the '80s. We are here, of course, to talk with Coach Andre Anderson.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, just it was an unbelievable era. What more can you say? And I go back since I'm 66 years old. I go back to the Butch Evans era. I was at WSBA Radio York, and I remember us reporting the scores. I wasn't actually doing play-by-play, but Butchie got that thing really started, Coach Anderson. And you actually coached his son on the team in 2012, 2013, number 35, and when you had to open up with Lower Merion in the first round of the tournament. So there's a lot of connections there, Coach. So I want to let you talk, man, because I could go on and on.
How about you, Ty Sabercool?
Well, I guess as a Dolphins fan, it hurts me to say this, but go Bills.
Chiefs all day, baby. Chiefs all day.
I think my biggest thing is when I think of Carlisle, one aspect I think is under talked about is that gym is cozy when it's full, and it's not often not full. It's pretty much pretty filled to capacity most nights, and that has to be intimidating to play in. So what's it like playing in Carlisle's gym versus others? Because most gyms, I mean, there's 10 feet of space between the first row and the court, and you get to Carlisle and it's like everyone's right on top of you.
Yeah, it's I like to call it the best home court advantage in the mid-state because it is. It's always packed. The fans are right on top of you, like you said. They did some renovating, and they redid the gym, and it's not as much on top of you. The bleachers don't go up as high, but still, man, it's a great home court advantage. The only thing that sucks about it is it seems like everybody that comes in there, they have a great night, man, because it's so rowdy in there. The crowd's there. It's going nuts. And, a lot of good teams and good players have had good nights there as well, just with the energy that's in that gym. But yeah,
it's called the Gene Evans Gym, right?
Dave Lebo Court.
Dickinson head coach, right there, Coach Anderson.
Yeah, Dave Lebo Court, Gene Evans Gymnasium.
Right. John and I were there. I think I was with you, John, years ago, 8 years ago. And the student section was ridiculously strong. Was that you and I, John?
You posted on Facebook the best student section in the area. You took a picture.
And what I liked about them is they weren't derisive. They were clean. They were loud. They did it the right way.
Right.
At least that night. Maybe we were there on a good night. But I said to John, I said, listen, these guys, they showed up and they're doing it the right way. They had some scripted. They were doing everything in unison, and we loved it. I said, "This is high school basketball right here."
Yeah, that place definitely it was rocking. You're probably talking the 2017-18 era.
Probably, with the great guard, the great backcourt.
Yeah, that
Fillington
was
and Barnes, I
Millington,
guess.
Deshaun Millington. Yeah,
Gavin
that place
Barnes.
was rocking. We somebody pulled out some stuff and put it on Facebook, just some clips of that back then. It just makes you smile, man, and remember those days. We still got a great student section, but that was a little different back then.
Correct.
For
John,
sure.
how about you? You want to jump in?
Yeah, I got a question about this year's team, Coach, but I wanted to get a little bit to know about you first. As a player at high school and in college, did you have a mentor then, and now as a coach, do you have a mentor now that you relate to and talk to?
I mean, back in the day, man, my dad was, he was my biggest role model. He was the one that I talked to after every basketball game. He's since then passed away, but he's always my best friend, always that guy that, I could always reach out to. And he wasn't going, if I had a bad game while I was playing, he was gonna let me know. If I had a bad
Right.
game, that carried right over to when I was coaching, man. He's like, well, he'll let me know what the hell you doing, man. Yada yada yada. But he would always let me know. He'd keep it real with me, keep it honest with me, and he was the one I could always lean on for that. In terms of coaches that I came up with, like you said, Coach Decision. I coached with him for 4 years right out of college. Took over the JV team from 2003 to 2007, and I'm just thankful he gave me that that opportunity because here I am 14 years later. You said that in the intro. I couldn't even believe it there, man. 14
That's a
years.
long time. That's a long time
quick.
at one school,
It goes quick, man. It goes quick. And, there's a really rich tradition here at Carlisle. So to say I've been able to do that for that long, man, I'm pretty proud of myself. And, it's just something that it's what I do. It's what I like to do. It's what I love to do, and wouldn't do it any other way, man.
Well, we've been following you for years, Coach, and you coach at a high level and against some of the toughest competition in the state. In reality, you're playing in the Commonwealth, and this year specifically, you've had a couple close beats, specifically to Central Dauphin recently. And are those tough for the kids? And how do you bounce back from a tough loss like that?
I mean, you can't really think about the last one in the Commonwealth. I'll be honest.
Right.
One of the toughest divisions in the state, I think, and that those kind of games battle test you, for the playoffs if you're fortunate enough to go to the playoffs, and you just got to bounce back quick. You got to have a short memory, and you can't let those things bother you, going into the next game because you might be playing CD who, they were 1 or 2 in the power rankings when we played them, lost by a point one time, lost by 2 points the other time.
Right.
You're playing Cumberland Valley or State College or somebody else the next night or CV, Chambersburg, you name it, man. It's just every single night is a battle. We have to travel to State College, we have to travel to Altoona. Regardless of whether their teams are up or down, it's always a tough game going 2 hours away to play those guys, and that's what I always tell my guys, man. You just have to have a short memory with this stuff and be ready for the next one. And after that CD game, we did bounce back. We had a nice win against CV a couple games later. So,
right.
It's just how the Commonwealth is, man. It's a gauntlet.
Why don't we use that as a segue? Tell us a little bit about, you had lost 12 games in a row to.
Yes.
I think 2018 was John. I don't mean to cut in here, but
no, you didn't cut in at all.
On that, 2018 was the last time you had beaten them, and that's
we're in Cumberland Valley.
We're in 2025, Cumberland Valley, and you guys just took it to them at the Dome. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I can tell you this senior class specifically, man. They they wanted that game bad, and it's one of those things where you get beat so many times in a row. At some point in time, something's got to click, and everything clicked for us that night. CV they didn't have their best game, and we jumped on them, and it was a big win for us. That was an eye opener for us, and I think that's going to help us down the line. But there was a long streak of losses there. Going back prior to that, I think we had beaten them 12 times in a row. There was a streak there that we had too.
There was.
We were beating them a good bit, and then Coach Vez came in. He does it.
I was just going to say then came Coach Dave Vespignani.
Yes. He does a hell of a job with those guys. We have a good relationship. We talk and stuff like that. But he does a good job, and our kids just came to play that night, man. That's how they got to play every night.
Well, we were happy. I can speak for myself and the people that I know, the guys in my circle. we were happy to see that. So congratulations.
I appreciate that.
I guess it's too late for congratulations. But, well done. I guess well done's the term, you know. Dave, how about you? Want to jump back in?
Tell me about State College. You had two close games with them. You beat them twice. I'm very concerned about that because I still follow Mifflin County basketball. Mifflin County, big win for Cliff. So they're battling State College. There's only 3 teams in District 6, 6A. So whoever gets the top seed, District 6, 6A, will host this District 6 championship game, Mifflin County or State College. So how State College, they must be pretty good to hang in there, but they've had some interesting losses too, Coach.
Yeah, you know, they're coming off a really bad loss. And I was talking to Coach last night, and he said, you know, he said his kids just came out flat. You know, CDE's hit some shots on them, and you know, it's just the way it goes. I just explained that, man. And every night in the Commonwealth is tough. You know, nobody expected that to happen, but you know, they always play us well. He does a heck of a job, you know, as a coach as well. And you know, they throw different defenses at you. They got, you know, some long kids. You know, they can shoot it. They got the big kid in the middle. He's good. He plays all around the yards kid. But they hit some shots. Some guys that you didn't think were going to hit some shots last night. And you know, we were fortunate enough to hang on. We didn't have it going on the offensive end. There's some free throws, but you know, our kids fought. You know, it was a good position for us to be in. You know, a good battle test position to be in, and you know, come out with that win. That was big for us.
Mm-hmm. You guys have just a couple of newer coaches in the Commonwealth, not many, but talk about having to go up against these guys. You just mentioned it, Brian Shawley, right? Coach Shawley from State College, and you got Vespignani. You have Wayne Fletcher. You have who am I leaving out? Scheffler. I'm sorry, I should never leave him out. But I mean, what kind of a headache do you get from having to try to prepare for those guys and then kind of match wits with them for an hour and a half? That has to be difficult.
It is. I mean, you got no time, and you know, like I know these high school basketball schedules. It's like an NBA schedule. You're playing 3 times a week sometimes. I mean, we got 4 games next week, I believe. You don't have a ton of time to prepare and, you know, break down things, and you know, you just have to work. You got to think a lot about what you need to do. That's a lot of what we do. We have to take care of ourselves, know what the other teams have, and
right.
You know, all those guys are great coaches, and you know, not only the rosters that you have to deal with in the Commonwealth, but the coaches too. And like I said, it's just a gauntlet, and you know, I wouldn't do it any other way, man. I love coaching in the Commonwealth. I love having a battle every night. I think the kids do too. Like I said, that just prepares you for the playoffs.
We were at the game that CD beat you by a point. I forget what the score was. It was like 53-52.
67-66.
Okay, I was way off.
But anyway, talking down there.
Yeah, and I said to John or whoever I was with, I was like, that dude just coached his butt off. I was talking about you. I'm sure Wade Fletcher did too, but I mean, you gave it all you had. I can tell you that. And I think for me, a star was born with your sophomore, the big guy, the 6'8" guy. Pardon me that his name's slipping my mind, but man, did he ever of course, Parker had 35, but he kept you guys in the game, man. CD didn't have much answer for him. They don't have a whole lot of size, but talk a little bit about first Parker Smith.
Well, Parker Smith, man, just a special athlete, special talent, great kid, you know, high character kid, high academic kid. You know, he's just one of the better athletes that I've been around. And I've been around some very special athletes, but you know, a lot of people talk about him and his ability to score the basketball. You know, he's been top 1 or 2 in the area the last 2 years. Does score a lot of points for us, man. But he does so much else for our team. Fantastic defender. He's getting kids involved this year, playing more on the ball this year. You know what I mean? We had Jaden Smith last year that dished it out to him a lot last year. But, you know, he's doing a fantastic job with his new duties, you know, handling the ball and running our stuff. And, you know, the kids all love him, great leader. And like I said, man, he's a special talent. Somebody's going to be happy to get him someday.
Yeah.
At the
and
next
then
level.
Reminder, he's coming in here this week. So he'll be one of the guests on our show. And I'm excited about that. And then how about, I think it's Tyler Royal. Is it Royal or Royale? The sophomore?
Tyler Royal.
You could see that he's just kind of coming into his own. Okay. I thought he had a really good game. And not just for a young guy, you know, the game that I watched him play, but talk a little bit about him and what he has now, what he's going to bring to this program in the next couple of years.
Well, number one with Tyler, that I have to put out before anything. He's probably the nicest young man that you'll meet. Very respectful, well mannered, and sometimes you want him to be a little different than that on the court. And we're getting to that point where he's starting to know his body and know his ability, and he's starting to utilize that on every possession. Big time on the defensive end this year. He's doing exactly what we asked him to do. He's protecting the rim. Had just last night had a couple big blocks, key blocks down the stretch. But once he figures it out on the offensive end, I mean, he's gonna be tough to deal with. I mean, he's got a 7'1" wingspan already, I believe,
Wow.
and I feel like he's still growing. But he's always a lob threat. I mean, we don't keep track of our dunks, but man, he's torn the rim up, a lot this year. But he's really, really coming around, and he's gonna help us down the stretch. And I threw him right into the mix this year. He didn't play as many minutes last year as a freshman. He did play a lot for us, but he rarely comes off the court now. So, that's the biggest thing that he has responded well with this year. Great kid, though.
Well, I loved watching
really
him.
great kid.
Let's, how about Coach Savercool? Do you have anything else? Let's close out. Let's get one more question here.
Yeah, I guess just speaking about the Carlisle's history and expectations of the community, obviously higher than most schools in the area because of that history of success. How do you, as the coach, and to your kids, drown out that noise? Because I'm sure there's a lot of talk. You got the old heads in the community that everyone wants to know how everything's going, and everyone has an opinion. How do you keep them focused on what matters during those tough stretches, especially during the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's you got to do just that. You got to have those conversations every now and then. And, because they hear it too. You don't know if they're going home to their own house and hearing stuff. And, we communicate about that. We have open communication about that. What matters is inside of that locker room, and the people inside of that locker room. We always discuss that. And, I love it though. I like I said, I wouldn't do it any different, man. There's a rich tradition here in Carlisle, and, we're going for this ride. If you're coming along, man, jump on with us and be supportive. If you don't, then, that's just it. We're still going to go. We're still going to do what we do. And, our kids do a good job with that. It is tough, and it is a tough place to play and be. And like I said, most of our games are packed, no matter what, no matter our record, no matter any of that stuff. And you just got to go out and play basketball. And once you go out and do that confidently, good things happen.
Thank you, Coach. 14th year Carlisle boys head coach, Andre Anderson. We really appreciate you. You got a big week coming up here, getting primed for the postseason. We wish you well this week. We wish you well beyond. And I always ask myself when I interview coaches, and I know a lot of coaches, and I always ask myself, would I want him coaching my son? And the answer resoundingly is yes. You're just one of those guys. I know you're great for the community. You're great for the school and all the individual young men that you've had a chance to touch their lives. So thank you for doing what you do. And hopefully we'll get out to see your team again this year. Last thing, what T-shirt size are you? We have a company or a sponsor called Pay Your Apparel. They do athletic sportswear, and we're going to get you a T-shirt.
Give me a large. That'll give me some motivation to get into that gym.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Coach. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys, man. Thanks for the kind words too, man. I appreciate that.
Go Chiefs.
Go
Thanks,
Chiefs,
Coach.
baby. Go Chiefs.
Good luck the rest of the way.
All right. See you, bud. Okay, man, that was good. That was really good. We finished the interview. We all have smiles on our faces. That's the way. I looked at Dave. He's got a smile. Ty, John, and that's the way it's supposed to be. We want to get down to kind of brass tacks when it comes to interviewing these coaches, but we also want to have fun, and we had a chance to do that tonight. Anyway, let's jump right into this. I don't want to get too helter skelter, but we had a really big boys basketball game last night. Cumberland Valley clinches. Okay, people at home might not understand. They clinched a share of the Commonwealth Division, even though they beat Central Dauphin twice this year. But they're gonna, if they win out, they're gonna move on to represent the Commonwealth Division in the Mid-Penn tournament, which, I mean, that's a big deal. It's a big deal to the kids. It's a big deal to the coaches because they get a couple extra games to prepare for states. But Coach Savercool, you watched the game. I did not. I was working. I was public address announcing. And the only thing I'm going to say before I turn it over to you is, no, I will turn it over to you. Tell us what you thought of the game.
Fast pace, second half especially. I mean, there was a lot of scoring in the third and fourth quarters. Guys getting up and down. Yeah, I thought Buzalka for Cumberland Valley and Wayne Fletcher for CD. I mean, those two went at it possession after possession. I mean, they were both 30+ points, I believe, both of them. I mean, it was just a really good high school basketball game for the area to witness, and luckily it was on TV, so I was able to watch it. But just punch after punch, back and forth. Just really entertaining, and you knew it was going to go down to the last possession, and whoever had the ball in that last possession was likely potentially going to win that game, and that's how it panned out.
Yeah, a little birdie told me, and I don't want to call it controversy because it's not really controversy, but there was some questions about why Central Dauphin didn't foul at the very end. There was a timeout with like 5 seconds, and Central Dauphin had a foul, at least a foul to give. I think one foul to give.
It was tied, Joe. Tie game.
Tie game, yeah. Thanks, John. 60-all, and during the timeout, the strategy was the defensive play, let's call it, was to foul with like 2 seconds left. You wanted to foul to not give the opposition too much time to set up another play, right, Coach? That's the way it works.
Yeah, 5.8 was left on the clock. They were coming out of a timeout. CD had 2 fouls to give.
Yeah.
They were only at 2 team fouls for the fourth quarter. So, truthfully, you want to prevent an inbounds pass that's in the front court within the 3-point line, because that's an area where, CB could catch the ball and score right away. You want to force them to throw it at midcourt or in the backcourt, and they inbounded it right around midcourt. And CD had a chance that they could have fouled twice and probably gotten that clock down to 3 seconds, if not less than 3 seconds,
right,
for that very last possession for Cumberland Valley, which is a whole game-changing difference of ability to score when you have 6 seconds versus 3. So I mean, I would certainly think that if Wayne had to redo that he probably would. If not, I mean, at the end of the day, these are high school kids.
The play was
asked to foul, and they just didn't.
It was definitely drawn up. They were supposed to foul. And listen, you guys know me well enough. I don't throw kids under the bus, man. These are kids. If I was out there, I probably would have done way worse than anybody else did when I was younger. But for whatever reason, they either didn't catch up. You got to catch up to the players to foul them. You know what I mean? If the ball's being moved around, distributed well, you can't catch up to them. Or you come out of the timeout and you just kind of have like a brain fart and you just forget what you're supposed to be doing. You think that, okay, I'm just going to play some good defense here. Well, next thing you know, it's over if you're just trying to play defense and not trying to foul. So I kind of thought that it was going in. I figured Cumberland Valley would probably, if I had to put a point spread on that game, it would be somewhere in the 7-9 range, with Cumberland Valley being the favorite. I kind of figured if Central Dauphin could walk away with less than a double digit, and there are no consolation prizes in a game like that. I was surprised that CD, and that's the heartbreaking thing for Central Dauphin. They had small leads pretty much the whole way throughout the game. They never had a big lead, but when you put yourself in a position after losing by 22 just weeks ago to have a chance to win the game, that's the tough part, guys, huh?
Well, they might have. I mean, the plan might have been to foul, and they just didn't execute.
It absolutely was. I'm
Coach Fletcher might have told them to foul, and
I know that was the plan.
It's tough for these kids too sometimes, and I'm trying to play to defend them because they're afraid to foul on the shot too. You got to be careful.
There's a lot going on there in 5.
Yeah, it's a lot going on
for a kid, So that's why I'm kind of walking on eggshells here. I know for a fact that the plan was to foul.
Yeah, and you could hear in that one replay you posted, Joe. You could hear him saying foul.
Yeah, but you can't, there's 3 things that you have to do. And Coach, you're going to know this during those types of timeouts, okay, where you're down to one play, okay, whether you're on offense or defense. First of all, you've got to make sure that you got all the players' attention, okay, and you should. That's what they're there to do, is play basketball, listen to what their coach say. Then you got to make sure that they all understand what your plan is, okay? This is what we're doing, guys. What, you try to look them all in the eye if you can, or what, human beings could listen without hearing. Okay. And then that's the second part of it. And then once they go out in the floor, you have to hope that they execute. So is it Coach Saver, cool? Talk about being the coach in those kind of timeouts and just kind of hoping that your players understand what the goal is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's where as a coach, you have to, your message has to be very concise, you know, one or two things that you're trying to accomplish, because, you know, you got noise, you've got, you know, emotions, you've got all of that that's going on, that you just, again, limit what you're giving them. And I'm sure with Coach Fletcher's experience, he did that. And, you know, at the end of the day, they didn't execute what they were supposed to out of that timeout. I mean, truthfully, not only did they execute, I think kind of just when I watched the replay again, it played out in the worst way possible for CD, in the respect that the defender that was guarding the kid that caught the ball in the inbound, he didn't foul. So then a second CD defender went to the ball, almost like kind of a quasi double team, which then left two Cumberland Valley players on the wing in the corner with only one defender to guard them. So it literally it couldn't have panned out any worse for CD. In terms of like getting that shooter an open shot. If they didn't foul, but they all held their man, that shot doesn't take place.
Right.
Even if they don't foul. But at the end of the day, that like rotating double team really was like the worst case scenario for CD.
The kid that was covering, is it Delipio? Is that how you pronounce it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was.
The kid who was covering him left him.
The two brothers were covering for CD. Their name's escaping me right now. The last name, Starling. They were on the wings covering each of the Cumberland Valley kids, and the one that was closer to the ball rotated the double team or foul, whatever it might have been, and then the other Starling brother kind of played in the middle between the two guys on the wing, in the corner. And this Cumberland Valley kid threw a skip pass to the corner. So really the Starling kid was covering two kids. I think Wayne tried to get out there and contest the shot, but at the end of the day, it was too little too late.
There was Lebo to Delipio. Great win for Cumberland Valley. You know, we're here to talk about what happened and as we saw it and what we think about it. But we're not here to say that Central Dauphin lost that game. We're here to say that Cumberland Valley won the game. Somebody had to leave there last night a winner, and it was Cumberland Valley and Coach Dave Vespignani. And in all likelihood, you know, they still have to they think their tough game left is State College. I think they have more than one game, but their tougher game is State College. And I anticipate.
So right now, CD and CV are tied for the Commonwealth, right? And they both have games still to play.
In the mid-pen, even if you win the head-to-head, you still earn a tie.
Right. So they still both need to win out to share the Commonwealth, and then it goes to the power rankings to decide who goes to mid-pen tourney.
Cumberland Valley has a somewhat healthy.
No, not in this, because Cumberland Valley beat CD twice. So
is that the way it works?
So it is head-to-head.
Head-to-head's the first tiebreaker.
There you go, Joe.
It's been that way because football is not that way. Okay.
Always.
Oh, yeah. So they would have to lose another game.
Yeah. Basically. So it only goes to the power ranking if you split that series, or
there you go. Yeah.
Or if it's a three-way.
Which makes sense. Okay.
In a technical sense, they actually, if they do finish tied, they're not co-champs because Cumberland Valley owned the head-to-head tiebreaker. Now, if they win the expert series and they ended up tied, and it goes to power rankings, then they're considered co-champs with the higher power ranking team advancing as the representative. For playoffs. Okay. All
right. So I want to talk about this again. We talked about it earlier in the season, but I keep an eye on this. These are all urban schools or suburban schools with the majority of minority students, and what we're going to talk about here just for a couple minutes is the way that the basketball, the power in basketball has kind of gravitated out to the suburbs. I'm just going to run down a list of schools here. York High, Harrisburg, Reading, J.P. McCaskey, Lebanon, Central Dauphin East, Steel High, Susquehanna Township, Allentown, Deerhoof, and Allentown, Allen, Erie, Williamsport, Hazleton, Wilkes-Barre, Chester, Brashear, Perry Traditional, Westinghouse, Taylor, Alderdice, and Farrell. That's 20 schools, guys. How many of those schools do you think right now have a boys basketball team with a record over 500?
I know
20.
Chester does, and they're playing some good ball.
They are
They're
one of.
12-6.
This
I'm
isn't
gonna-
Jeopardy. I'm not.
There's Chester
Three.
and
Three.
Reading's below 500, but they're hot now. They could squeeze into the District 3 tournament if they are below 500. But you really can't put Reading on that list, okay, because they were state semifinals last year. You can't.
Well,
And
I mean, they're
the
on the
bottom
list
line-
because they're below 500. And
Yeah, bottom line in Chester, if you don't win a state championship, it's a failure season. Okay. So, but they're still very competitive. It's hard to win state championships.
no,
So,
we're not talking about winning state championship. We're
I'm
talking
just-
about they
below-
used to be good every year.
Susquehanna Township's coming on strong. What's their record?
Susquehanna Township, they're another one. Now they're a suburban school, but 80% minorities. That's the reason they're on the list.
They're 10-7, and they're doing well right now.
Yeah.
Good.
They were 6-7 like 2 weeks ago. They've won a bunch of games in a row now.
What's Williamsport's record?
Williamsport is 4-9. They were 4-9. I'm sure they lost. They have played a lot more games than that was what I could find. And then the last one was Chester. York High, who's on a roll. They were right around 500 a few weeks ago. They're 13-6 now. Susquehanna Township and Chester. And where I'm going with this is when I was growing up, I'm 58 years old. This was the list of all the best boys basketball programs in the state. Dave, you remember that?
Well, yeah, Lower Marion. You really, yeah, they're still good. I know. The bottom line is these teams already. It's just hard to say, man. It's just hard to win a state championship, no matter how.
We're not talking about state championships.
Talking about winning
Are
records.
not even remotely
Well,
part of
I
this
mean, but
conversation.
It's I don't know who else. Who else is below 500? Who else?
They're all below 500 except for three of 20.
Who else? Give me. You mentioned the list too fast. Who else was on there?
Well,
CDs. Yeah. What
East High, they were for decades.
Harrisburg.
Yeah.
Win tonight, they're going to end up
They're
below
6-11.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just part of the conversation. I cover high school sports. We're here to talk about high school basketball, and there's been a huge shift over the last decade or so. And you don't see it quite as much in Philly because it's a different dynamic where just the way things go in District 12 are just kind of different than up this way. District 12 for years has had private schools that have been like some of their best outside of like Simon Gratz and so anyway, that's where I'm going with that. I don't know exactly where, but I like to see schools like this having really good basketball programs, and they're just down right now. How about a shot clock? Anybody for a shot clock in high school basketball?
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea. Maybe make it 30-second clock.
Coach Savercool, you're the coach here, the resident coach. Would you have wanted one when you were coaching?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. It would definitely put more emphasis on the value of a possession. Just because people can't just burn the clock. You're going to have more possessions and people just aren't holding it. I mean, you see the extremes of people holding the ball at half court when people are sitting in a zone, and that's the extreme part. I just want to look at just, the average possession where you're trying to work an offense and it gets down to under 10 seconds. I mean, that adds an element of pressure to the player that they have to be able to knock down that shot or get off a clean shot before that shot clock expires. And I think that's a really, cool element to add to the game.
John Velios, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this for years. I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely 100% needed. I've watched Middletown hold the ball for 4 minutes against McDevitt one time. And why should they come out and challenge them if they're going to play that? I mean, who wants to watch that? It would definitely help entertainment value for the paying.
That's a good point.
Visitor.
It is somewhat about the people that are paying $6.
Right.
It's
it's mostly family of a lot of the players there, but there's also people that have been going to both schools that are alumni that have been going to games for 40, 50 years. That who wants to see a team hold the ball for a minute or two? Nobody.
You're talking about the consumers of high school basketball,
right? Yeah. Now we've all heard arguments. Cost, another person to man it.
Right.
You know,
And they're the only two, right? I think Ty, Coach Sabercool, they're probably be the only two arguments against it,
For
other
the
than
most
just
part, it's it's cost and staffing. It, to me, that's just you're trying to grab a straw to have logic behind an argument, but it's not. I mean, it doesn't make sense, really.
no, there's not enough logic against it.
Yeah, it's not that cost prohibitive, nor is it that expensive. Selling 4 tickets to a game may pay for that clock.
Correct.
over a year's period. Yeah.
No,
But
for that night to pay the guy that's
Yeah,
operating.
for that night, you sell 4 tickets, you cover his salary. Or whatever,
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, how would that get implemented, Joe? Where does that start, with the PIAA or what?
Well, would it be NFHS or no? It can't be NFHS because there are other states that have it. Yeah, PIAA, I would imagine, right?
No, I'm saying, how would you?
NFHS has it authorized that it's up to the states to do.
Right, yeah.
I believe it keeps kind of getting kicked down. There was might have been a few days ago, Bob Greenberg out of Pittsburgh. He covers a lot of high school sports. He had put something on Twitter that there was discussion at the more recent PIAA meeting, and I believe that the officials, the referee association that they work with, a representative on the PIAA board, they were in favor of a shot clock, but it was the schools that were kicking it for the reasons that we had mentioned. It's cost prohibitive and all of that. So,
will we see it someday?
Yeah,
I think so too. Yeah, like you said, they're kind of kicking it down to it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind for a while. But if enough people want it badly enough, you're not going to be able to continue to kind of deny it.
Most of these schools, when they renovate their gyms, the older ones, they're putting in scoreboards that have the shot clock capability already.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
right.
We have a play clock in football. I mean, it's not that challenging, not that hard to implement or enforce. So, at the end of the day, as these gyms get updated, they have it. They'll have it put in.
Okay, so we're 4-0 in favor of shot clock on this panel here. Okay, let's do this. Let's talk about where we're going to talk about kick the can down the street. We're going to do that with talking about the power rankings, because we still have time to let those kind of materialize. But let's talk about who's kind of probably in here for the titles in the mid-pen, and then
let me give you a score. Oh, you're just talking mid-pen, okay?
No, that's okay. What do you want to do, Dave?
Well, the Central York today beat Coatesville, the game of the day, 83-73 down in York. So what game that was, and possible meeting in the playoffs. Just Central York over. They're 16-1.
Boy, that's Central York. They play a tough schedule. Well, their tough schedule is outside of YA1 for the most part, with respect to Red Lion and Dallastown.
They played Imhotep. They beat them up. They beat Coatesville. They only lost Upper St. Clair out of Pittsburgh.
Who's very good. Good. Yep. Okay, so the Commonwealth we just talked about. In all likelihood, it's going to be Cumberland Valley. They're going to finish probably with 2 losses over a Central Dauphin team with 2 losses, both to Cumberland Valley. Keystone, Mechanicsburg, and Hershey, I think they each still have 1 loss. And they play again, right, guys?
No.
Wait, they split. They split.
They
Okay.
split.
I'm sorry. Yeah, they split. So that'll go to power rankings if they both win out. Okay. All right. And then Milton Hershey has 3 losses. I can't imagine either of those other teams having 2 more losses. Trinity is 11-0 in the division. McDevitt 9-2, probably going to be Trinity's capital division. And then Middletown 11-0 in the Colonial. They're new in the Colonial division. Waynesboro is 8-3. So it really looks strongly like Cumberland Valley, Trinity, and Middletown, and then in the Keystone again, either Mechanicsburg or Hershey. So that's who's poised to finish out champions in these divisions. Let's do this. Let's spend just a few minutes, and we can do this last. Or you know what, Dave? Let's do Dave Berman's District 12 and District 1 recap, and I'll even give you 60 seconds. I'll give you a speed round to talk about District 6.
Yeah, I need to, because I have to look up this website here, Beyond the Arc. They give all kinds of scores. Just Father Judge They beat. Well, let me see here.
Big one. They beat Roman.
Yeah, yeah. No. Yeah, let me see here. Let's see.
Dave, you need a cameraman.
Yeah, let me.
Your camera's shaky, dude.
Yeah, I'm just a little. Let's see. Let's see. So St. Joe's Prep beat. Let me just give you the standings here. Let me go to the City of Basketball Love. Just give you the standings. There's just too many teams beating each other. I mean, I don't know who the best team is. St.
Yeah,
Joe's
we don't
Prep,
need like a whole
Catholic
any
District
big
1.
games besides that Father Judge over Roman. Anything to write home about?
Devon Prep winning again. Bonner wins again. They would, a big one over O'Hara. One of their best players, 6'8" kid. He's a transfer from Upper Darby. He's a senior. He's not going to be eligible for the playoffs, so because that's a big break for our District 1 5A really good team, Sun Valley.
Devon Prep's going to repeat in 4A. They're going to.
Excuse me.
Devon Prep.
Prep.
They'll repeat in 4A.
I don't think anybody of any 4A team is going to be able to beat them in the same.
They can probably beat most 6A teams, right? I think.
Well, they already have, yeah.
Archbishop Bryan beat Newman Goretti.
That's a
big win.
Game.
No, but Goretti's it's gonna be in 5A. Bonner and Goretti. We know that no matter because Goretti's 5A. Ryan is now. If I could find these standings here, here we go. St. Joe's Prep are overall 13-4, 8-0 in the Philadelphia Catholic League. Devon Prep is 11-3 overall, 6-1 in the Catholic League. Father Judge 12-5 overall, 6-2 Catholic League. Roman is now 12-4, 5-2 in the Catholic League, and it's just dog eat dog. Just
it
like
really is. That's dog eat dog, man. That's some good basketball down there. What about let's talk a little bit about Mifflin County and what they were able to accomplish.
Tremendous win today. Huge crowd. Big game. They're 7-8. They're only a half a game. Remember, 3 teams in District 6A. They're a half game now behind State College, who's 8-8 for the top spot in the district. And whoever gets that will host the District 6A championship game.
Now, how can you? So Altoona's out, right? Because they have a record.
I think they're going to qualify because they won a couple of games. They've shown some improvement, so they're going to be in the semifinal against either State College. Well, the easier schedule's Mifflin County the rest of the way. So Mifflin County with that, they sweep a Mid-Penn league team for the first time. I don't know if it's ever happened before. Maybe a Mifflin County fan can chime in on that. Yes, it has. 2013-14, the third year of the program, they swept State College twice. 2013-14, Mifflin County went 11-11. State College went into the District 6 4A tournament that year against Mifflin County in the semifinals. Mifflin County was 11-11. State College was 1-23.
So State College makes sense that Mifflin County won that game. Then, right?
No. State College beat them 48-44. So they beat them twice in the regular season. Mifflin County. That goes back to 2. It was unbelievable.
That's a rough loss for Mifflin County.
I know.
All right. So that's our.
So Mifflin County wins. Keep an eye on District 6A. It's going to be awesome.
All right, I'm going to pull Coach Sabercool back in here. Commonwealth Division. Let's talk about who belongs in and who belongs out. These are our opinions, of course, and this is with respect to these teams, to these schools. I'm saying Altoona probably could go somewhere. And then is Mechanicsburg and Cedar Cliff, are they both ready to join the Commonwealth? I know Cedar Cliff's had a bad season this year. Would you do that? Is that something that would be doable?
So I mean, this is Mechanicsburg's first year in 6A. So I think I watched them play this week in a game, and I think they have the work cut out for them in 6A. 5A to 6A is a whole different beast. I was talking to Rocky Parise. If you guys know him, he's a McDevitt grad who was the head coach of Elizabethtown for a few years, and we were talking about that jump from 5A to 6A, and it is a different animal. So Mechanicsburg is they're going to be in for it come districts if they don't figure out some of their discipline and offensive defensive strategies. So Cedar Cliff, I mean, whenever I was there, I was trying to get into the Commonwealth, but that just wasn't going to happen with the configurations and
You
obviously
were beating Commonwealth teams.
Yeah, and then splitting from Redland is always that's always a conversation in West Shore because they like Cedar Cliff Redland playing twice, so they don't want to move Cedar Cliff. But it was challenging for us from a scheduling perspective because this Keystone was all 5As back then, and we were 6A, so it hurt us in the district power rankings. So long term, I think Cedar Cliff should be in the Commonwealth. They are in most other sports. Football, they just moved into the Commonwealth this year. They're in it in wrestling. They're in it in baseball. They're in it in soccer. So, I mean, they're in the Commonwealth in most every other sport.
So that would be a net +1 if you would add Mechanicsburg and Cedar Cliff and remove Altoona. I just don't think Altoona is going to turn it around. They've got enough history now that they just can't play with these any of the other schools.
Who
really.
makes these decisions, Joe? I remember when they came in with State College, right, into the Mid-Penn.
Well, Altoona's had a different path than State College. They've kind of tried their cards or their hand. I mean, they've gone back and forth. They've been out at District 7 twice, and then at District 3 twice. They've kind of flip-flopped back and forth, and for different reasons. Mostly it's because they have a hard time competing. Really.
Now they're in their own District 6?
Well, they're in their district. I mean, okay, but the Commonwealth, I'm sorry, the league.
You're right.
They were
They were in a league in District 7, you're saying. Okay,
right,
I got
yeah,
you.
thanks for yeah. So they just haven't really found a place, right, Ty, that they can win.
My opinion, it might not be a popular one for those teams that are in the western part of the state, but I do not think Mifflin County State College or Altoona should be in the Mid-Penn Conference. There's no rivalry factor. It just doesn't play like a game that'll stick in these kids' memories for the most part. I mean, State College competitively, they're for the most part fine in most sports, but I just think I just don't think it adds value versus all the you want to talk about expenses with shot clocks, and you've got teams that are traveling 2 hours, every Tuesday, Friday to pay a bus to go up there. So, I mean, to me, that's a whole other
That's
topic.
tough for the kids, for our kids around here.
Then to that point,
here's what Mifflin County was thinking about. They play a lot of 5A, 4A teams. They love playing District 4 teams, the Shikelemis, Central Mountains. Unfortunately, they're a 6A school though. So, but maybe they can go to the Heartland Conference. They've been talking about that, and and then Sealands Grove, stuff like that, and still be districts. Well, they'll be District 4 then. They'd be a District 4 team, but it'd be closer for them also. State College, they probably want to stay in the Commonwealth. They want to, they should move into District 3, and Altoona probably should play the Johnstowns, Penn Cambrias, pick up a Pittsburgh team here and there, and join. Still say, well, I don't know. I don't know what they should do with Altoona. That's a really tough one.
Right.
But I do think that it's very common sense that Altoona, Mifflin County State College should be in District 3. If you're in a conference of all District 3 teams, you should be playing in District 3.
No doubt. It just makes no sense.
You should be in that power ranking formula. You should be. I mean, they contribute to the formula for the game, but they should be on that seedings, and there shouldn't even be the acclaimed District 6A tournament. Because
why can't anybody push for that? I mean, because I know those teams up there, they like that little. And then you talk about travel, guys. Whoever wins District 6A, they have like a sub-regional. They got to go 4 hours.
Erie.
So why don't these teams join up District 3 and battle? Is there anything to force them in this thing?
I mean, State College has had some really good basketball teams over the years. Not recently, but they had that family.
Pretty recently, actually. They just won the Mid-Penn tournament a couple years ago. They just whooped Trinity. I remember.
We were there. We were courtside.
Third row. Yeah. They just most programs take a year or so off. They just
Coach Savercool's right. I mean, and we've talked about this, Joe. You play against District 3 teams all year long, and then you leave for districts and go into your own little district that's pretty much
little sub-region or whatever. Yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of
It
sense.
doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Okay.
Joe, we've seen it in softball too, and Altoona or State College in soccer, 2 wins, and Altoona 2 wins in the other sport, lacrosse or whatever it was, and they have a no fight. They don't have a policy. They can go in with an 0-22 record if they want to the district.
Yeah. Okay. So how about this one? Middletown got moved from the Capital to the Colonial. I think a great home for Middletown, and they're doing very well. I looked at a 5-year history when Middletown was in the Capital. Next to Trinity, they were the most successful program. They actually shared the Capital Division title with Trinity one year, but they had more wins than Susquehanna Township, than Steel High, than Bishop McDevitt. I think a good home for Middletown would be the Keystone, because they kind of have their neighbors to a degree are Hershey. Then you have Milton Hershey there, Lower Dauphin, Palmyra even. I mean, that's kind of like a little quadrant where they would fit in. What do you guys think about that?
That's a good argument, Joe, because they also moved from 4A to 5A this year.
That's the other thing. I had that. Thank you, John. Yeah, that's it. That even, I think, strengthens my argument a little bit. Coach Savercool, what do you think about that? Would that make sense?
I mean, this could have been something where it was just a bad timing type thing, where like they didn't have their final enrollment numbers, and maybe when the first number came out, they were still at the 4A level, and then maybe when they factored in the charter schools and all the ones that come in kind of after you do that first run, maybe they bumped up to 5A. So they didn't want to move them into the Keystone being a 4A. I mean, if they're going to be solidly a 5A school for the next foreseeable future, then absolutely the Keystone would be a very logical move for them.
Right. Okay.
Well, Coach McDevitt was 4A, and they were in the Keystone forever.
Well, yeah, and that's so this whole like move to enrollment alignment happened back, I think 2010, 2011, whenever some of the new teams came in. Because remember, Steel High and McDevitt used to be in the Commonwealth back then. 2010 and
Trinity girls were in the Commonwealth.
And then they did whenever State College and Mifflin County came in, they did a kind of a reshuffling, a little bit more enrollment focused. And then when they, I guess 3-4 years ago, when they redid it again, they bumped out Hannah and McDevitt to bring in Mifflin County and Milton Hershey to the Keystone. So we essentially swapped 5A, 6A with 2 4As in the Keystone.
So they're the only ones to me that are glaring. If anybody else if anybody's watching this and didn't hear this is just kind of food for thought, just something to kind of toss around. But the 3 things that have to make you hope can make a little bit of sense is geographics. You don't want a whole bunch of your schools like right here and then 2 or 3 like way out here that have to travel. Which we just talked about exists. Then you want to talk about making sure that a program or a school is in a division where they can be at least somewhat competitive. Okay, there's the second one. And I think, too, tradition and rivalries means something. I know that Cedar Cliff moved to the Commonwealth in football. And one of the arguments against that was that they were leaving Redland, that they were not going to have. And they did play a non-league game this year against Redland. But so they're the 3 things: geographics, rivalries, and strength of program over a stretch of time. You can't say, well, Harrisburg should be out of the Commonwealth because they haven't done well over the last 3 years. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, I think Harrisburg belongs in the Commonwealth. So go ahead, Dave.
All right, here's a perfect Mifflin County should play State College every year in football and Mifflin County dropped a few years ago.
Mifflin County dropped. You mean dropped to the Keystone?
No, dropped State College.
Oh, well, that's between those 2 schools. That has really not a whole lot to do with what we're.
But they playing out too. So
yeah, those ADs have to work that out, right, Ty? I mean, that's not something that.
You just fill that into your non-conference.
Yeah, so
a rivalry game right there. So, that's another pet peeve I have with what's going on.
Anybody else want to talk about any other teams, any other games, any other players? I know we got a lot done there. We're just under an hour. Great interview with Coach Anderson from Carlisle. We addressed the shot clock. We just realigned the mid-pen a little bit. And then maybe next week we'll start taking a better look at these power rankings. So we don't know who we're going to have next week yet as our opening guest. I think we're sourcing Coach Dave Vespignani from Cumberland Valley. I don't know, but maybe not. It's a tough time, right, Coach? Even though it's only a half hour of their week, it's not easy to get these guys that are just grinding for, they have to win some really big games, and it's like that's just another distraction. So we're going to try to get Coach Vespignani. If we don't get him, we'll get it. We get great guests. I don't know what else to say.
Joe, breaking news: Harold Katz passed away.
Harold Katz, Sixers owner in the 70s, maybe into the early 80s.
81 to 96,
Okay.
And he helped win us our last NBA World Championship with Dr. J and Moses. And
yeah, he turned it around. He's a hero. He's an icon in Philadelphia.
1983.
Wow. Yeah. Yep. He did it. He's the guy. He's the guy for Philadelphia. Anything else, John Velios?
All good.
Anything else, Ty Saver? Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. That's a 61 minutes of quality broadcasting there, guys. So thanks to Dave Berman, Ty Saver, cool, John Velios, Andre Anderson, our opening guest tonight. I'm Joe Gillaway, Linglestown Gazette Sports, and we'll next week we're back to Sunday at 6:00. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
See you guys.
Take care.